What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're reacting to a SportsCenter segment that covers a lot of NFL news, from coaching changes to quarterback questions and big championship matchups. It's one of those videos that jumps around the league and gives us a lot to think about. Before we start, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
In the National Football League, the Baltimore Ravens, a short time ago, reached agreement with Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter on a 5-year contract to bring him back to Baltimore, where he started his NFL coaching career in 2017. He worked underneath John Harbaugh from 2017 to 2020 in Baltimore. He visited Baltimore on Wednesday and did not leave the building. The Cleveland Browns were hoping to get him in. That didn't happen. He did not wind up visiting the Browns. Instead, he gets a deal done with the Baltimore Ravens to keep him in Baltimore for at least the next 5 seasons. And he'll have the job and the task of replacing the head coach that he used to work for in Baltimore, John Harbaugh, after spending the last 4 years in Los Angeles working, or the last couple of years in Los Angeles with Jim Harbaugh, also in Ann Arbor with Jim Harbaugh. Lots of familiarity with the Harbaughs. Now has to replace John in Baltimore.
So, Adam, the Ravens said they wanted to go in a new direction. You've talked about that he's coached under Harbaugh. How will Minter try to be different than the man he coached under for a few years?
Well, if we look at the history of the Ravens' head coaching hires, Brian Billick and Ted Marchibroda had offensive backgrounds. John Harbaugh had a special teams background, and Jesse Minter is the first coach in franchise history that comes from a defensive background, which seems interesting for a team and a franchise that we think of defense when you think of the Baltimore Ravens. He brings that defensive acumen, that intelligence into Baltimore. It's what they were looking for, but let's be honest here. Despite his defensive specialties, his biggest challenge and his biggest test will be the relationship that he forms with Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson and how that situation manages itself, because Lamar Jackson did not play up to his usual self last year. A lot of questions about Lamar swirling all around the league, and it will be up to Jesse Minter to forge that relationship and make sure Lamar Jackson is happy so that he can get the best out of Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
All right, so with Minter to the Ravens, Adam, now 5 head coaching vacancies left in the NFL, and one of those is in Buffalo. What can you tell us about the Bills' search to replace Sean McDermott?
They had 2 head coach candidates in there today interviewing for the job. The former New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll and the Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. They also are expected to speak with the former Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, the Commanders run game coordinator Anthony Lynn, and the Jaguars offensive coordinator Grant Udinski. So clearly a whole cast of candidates that Baltimore's trotting through. It's been a while since the Bills have been through this process. It's obviously a critically important hire to the future of that franchise, to Josh Allen, to moving into a new stadium, and they want to talk to as many people as they can, and that doesn't include the potential candidates coaching in this weekend's conference championship games, of which there are coaches that Buffalo.
I actually think the Ravens hiring makes a lot of sense. Going with a defensive-minded head coach fits their identity, but the Lamar Jackson part is clearly the biggest issue. If Lamar isn't fully bought in or doesn't feel supported, it won't matter how good the defense is. This hire will be judged almost entirely by how that relationship works out.
Will be interested in.
Brian Daboll, an interesting name. Of course, he was the OC there in Buffalo with Josh Allen for several years. Keep it in the AFC East. The Dolphins, they have an all-new GM coach combo, John Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley, both coming in from Green Bay. First order of business, what are you going to do with Tua after the quarterback was benched and said he would welcome a trade? Listen to this.
The thing that I think we have to focus most on right now is making sure that we build infrastructure. And yes, we need to get the quarterback situation in place, but we're not going to do it in an irresponsible manner where we sacrifice building the infrastructure of this football team so that when we do find our guy, he can go be successful, whoever that may be, whether it's Tua, Quinn, or somebody that's not in the building. We have a team that he can go play and win with.
Definitely going to get those two guys confused at some point in the near future. Anyway, Sullivan not showing his hand at this early stage in Miami. Adam, what are you hearing about the future of Tua with the Dolphins?
David, they clearly were non-committal to Tua Tagovailoa there, and the expectation around the league is that the Dolphins will be parting ways with Tua at some point this offseason. The question is how and when. Do they find a trade partner for him? Do they designate him a post-June 1 salary cap casualty? There will be $99 million of dead cap money that the Dolphins have to absorb. Do they spread it out over 2 years, or do they just say, we're going to take it all on in 1 year in this rebuilding project that we have on our hands when we're in a division with Josh Allen and Drake May? These are the decisions that John Eric Sullivan, the new general manager, Jeff Hafley, the new head coach, will have to make moving forward. But undoubtedly, the quarterback will be the biggest decision that this team makes. They have to go find one, and they have to find a way to extricate themselves from the Tua Tagovailoa contract.
And if that $99 million dead cap hit sounds like a lot, it is. It'd be the most in history, surpassing Russell Wilson's $85 million hit with the Broncos, who have somehow managed to get to the AFC title game. Adam with the...
And Custer here on SportsCenter. You know, Patriots, Broncos, they kick off championship Sunday, 3 Eastern from Denver. Key matchup to watch out for in this one. How about Denver's pass rush? 11 more sacks than any other team during the regular season. Got pressure on 37% of dropbacks, second highest rate. Now, Drake May handled that pressure and the blitz well during the regular season. 4th in the NFL with a 60 QBR when he was pressured, but has a 6.5 QBR when he's pressured in this postseason with 5 fumbles in 2 games. We are on the scene with both teams. We've got Mike Reese in Foxborough with New England, Jeremy Fowler. He's in Colorado with the Broncos. And Mike, I guess we'll start with you. Patriots trying to make history, win their first ever playoff game in Denver. It's certainly not going to be easy against Sean Payton. What is Mike Vrabel saying about his 3rd ever showdown with Payton?
Well, Brian, a lot of respect there. The Patriots defense is playing some of its best football of the year these last 2 games in the playoffs. But one thing has been clear spending the last 2 days around the team. Sean Payton's Broncos offense is going to test them in new ways with their variety and volume.
I think he does a great job with his personnel and his scheme and the guys that he had in New Orleans and how they use those guys, and then certainly how he's using the weapons offensively in Denver. And I think you have to prepare for a lot. You know, his record clearly speaks for itself, and so you know, tough challenge. You know, he's a proven winner in this league.
One other notable development today for the Patriots, starting wide receiver Mac Hollins back on the practice field for the first time since landing on injured reserve in late December, Brian.
Hey, that's big. You know, Hollins had 7 and 8 targets in those last 2 games before he hit the IR. By the way, you know, these 2 teams have met in the post.
The Bills search feels very careful, and that makes sense with Josh Allen and a new stadium coming, but the Dolphins situation feels way more unstable. Being that non-committal about Tua says a lot. That dead cap number is scary, and it really shows how bad quarterback decisions can set a franchise back for years.
Season 5 times, the home team has always won. We'll see what happens Sunday. Thank you, Mike Reese.
This time, the home team is missing its starting quarterback. With Bo Nix out, Denver forced to turn to Jarrett Stidham, who's made just 4 career starts. That's the fewest for a QB to start a conference championship game or Super Bowl. The previous fewest was 5 by Jeff Hostetler in the 1990 NFC Championship. He led the Giants to a win over the Niners and then, of course, on to the Super Bowl title. We're on the scene in Colorado with our Jeremy Fowler, who was covering the Broncos. So, Jeremy, Jarrett Stidham hasn't thrown a pass in an NFL game in 2 years. Why is Denver so confident in him as he steps in as starter on Sunday?
Well, David, the Broncos are rallying around Jarrett Stidham because, quite frankly, they believe he can play, that he is a starting caliber quarterback in this league. Teammate Patrick Surtain said he's got, quote, mojo, the kind of confidence that you don't see typically in young players. And you can see that a little bit with Stidham in the locker room, walking around. He was in his bare feet. He's got a curly mullet. dragging nearly down to his shoulder, and he's going to let it rip out there, teammates say. He's looking for the big play. He's not going to check down the ball a ton. He's going to go through his progression, second and third read, try to find chunk plays. So they're hoping that they can get the Patriots deep on a few. And they're also hoping that they're going to be healthy for Stidham around that offense. They have two receivers that have been banged up last week, Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant, but they've been on the practice field and they were catching passes in the early portion of practice that we saw, so that's a good sign. And then running back J.K. Dobbins, out since November with a foot issue. He teased reporters on the practice field saying, we'll see about his availability for Sunday.
Dobbins, if he's in there, that's a big boost for Denver. Of course, last week's leading rusher for the Broncos, Bo Nix.
Mentor is their new head coach. Now, before coaching in L.A., Mentor was the defensive coordinator for Michigan's title under Jim Harbaugh. His first NFL job was an assistant to John Harbaugh and the Ravens from 2017 to 2020. Our Adam Schefter has more.
Jesse Minter is the first coach in franchise history that comes from a defensive background, which seems interesting for a team and a franchise that we think of defense when you think of the Baltimore Ravens. He brings that defensive acumen, that intelligence into Baltimore. It's what they were looking for, but let's be honest here. Despite his defensive specialties, his biggest challenge and his biggest test will be the relationship that he forms with Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson and how that situation manages itself, because Lamar Jackson did not play up to his usual self last year. A lot of questions about Lamar swirling all around the league, and it will be up to Jesse Minter to forge that relationship and make sure Lamar Jackson is happy so that he can get the best out of Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
So Jesse Minter returns to that Ravens nest where he was a defensive assistant from 2017 to 2020 under John Harbaugh, the man he now replaces. He also served as the defensive coordinator under Jim Harbaugh with Michigan and with the Chargers. And during Minter's 4 years in Baltimore, their defense led the NFL in points allowed.
There was a handful of plays in all three phases.
Bringing all three phases together is really critical to their success.
They've got a great team. All three phases.
He does in all three phases.
From all three phases.
In all three phases.
Can we stack plays in all three phases?
But all three phases did a solid job.
There's room for improvement on all three phases.
All three phases is a good win.
All right, look at all the people we have here. It's time for our championship game edition of all three phases. Our quarterback, Dan Orlovsky, will handle the offense. Our DB, Jason McCourty, takes the defense. Yes. Joe Fortenbaugh here for some gambling. All right. Let's start in the AFC title game.
And shoveling.
Yes, and shoveling.
Joe's got blisters from shoveling his snow. Pat's Broncos, you know Sean Payton's in the laboratory right now, Dan. Yeah. What am I going to do? How am I going to do this with Jarrett Stidham? What should the game plan be for them?
You're not changing it much outside of Bo Nix. I think, number one, when you watch Stidham play, there's enough athleticism to say, yeah, we can run our quarterback move, our bootleg, our keeper game, because that's something that showed up against New England that Houston tried to, and if executed better, would have been a good thing. I think the second thing that you want to do against this New England defense, you got to take your shots down the field. They are a defense that wants to play all 11 with vision on the quarterback. You got to throw the ball downfield. You cannot dink and dunk. The sixth offensive lineman. Houston didn't run it well, but there were moments when they put that sixth offensive lineman on the field and ran it, had some success. The other thing is, Stidham, don't hold on to the ball. Yeah. You got to be willing when the seam is there to take off and be a runner.
You know this defense well. Why will it be tough to run against that team?
The one thing that Dan hasn't mentioned, if you're Denver, you're going to go out there and try to run the football too. The possibility of J.K. Dobbins coming back. But New England, look at the movement they did up front in this game. Not only in the pass game, but in the run game as well. Chason coming from outside in, ends up unblocked. And then
the Patriots defense getting pressure like that is impressive, but playoff football is different. Young quarterbacks can look great in the regular season and then completely fall apart under pressure in the postseason. That's what makes this matchup interesting. Who handles the moment better, not just the scheme.
Setting an edge on the outside, making sure there's nowhere to bounce the football, and then getting hats to the ball, getting multiple people there to be able to make the tackle. They did this play in and play out, and their two playoff games, teams are averaging less than 2 yards a carry trying to run the football against them. Another one, Milton Williams penetrates, try to bounce the ball, set that edge, and look how many helmets are to the football. 5 guys, they're all laying a hat, and then this is what you want the picture to look like if you're the New England Patriots. Heads rolling as you're out there making plays.
Joe, who do you like like in this one?
I like Denver. I'll take the 4.5. Last week on the look-ahead line, it was Broncos -1.5. Bo Nix gets hurt, then they readjust the price. This is a 6-point move. I don't think the drop from Nix to Stidham is worth 6 points, hence why we would go ahead and play the dog here. Drake May in matchups against teams with a record above 500 this year. He's been sacked 22 times and he's got 4 interceptions, and that's only 5 games. Home dogs of 4 or more points in the playoffs over the last 50 years, 9-0 against the spread. We saw that in the wild card round with the Panthers covering against the Rams.
Joe may have something here because the Broncos have covered 4 straight games as a dog. So let's talk about the NFC Championship game. 3rd time for the Rams, Seahawks. We know Sam Darnold, 4 picks the first time they played. Just 2 picks the second time, but led that comeback, 16-point comeback in the 4th quarter. What do you like about Darnold lately?
When Sam listens to his feet to tell him where and when to throw the football, he's a consistent player. And that's what he struggled with a little bit the first time they played, and really every time that they played against this Rams defense. But it's been clean ever since then. They love their empty package, 5 receivers out. It clears the picture for Sam Darnold. He's going to get the snap. See the linebacker on his left drop out? Great. That tells him, let me go to my right. It's clear. It's clean. The ball comes out on time. Now, do the Rams, do they drop that underneath defender in between him and that slant? That's something that they have had success doing. The second thing, when he drops back to pass in their under-center drop-back game, he just sees it so much more quicker when he plays in that rhythm. When his feet tell him, nope, that guy's not open, don't force it, don't force it, don't force it, reset and find that second or third option, ball comes out, and that's where he just fits that ball in. Now, as a defense, you guys know I can bait you into some throws, so I think that's going to be the focus point for Sam. Listen to your feet.
J-Mac, we know the Seahawks defense is stout. Show us why so.
Oh, they're so good in their secondary, how they match the route and are able to play with vision. This is just quarters coverage, cover 4. The cornerbacks are going to be playing the wide receivers locked up with outside leverage, trusting their safeties on the inside who have vision on the quarterback. Now watch the rotation. Julian Love sees that route breaking. He drives it. Kobe Bryant pushes to the post. And then now, when Brock Purdy tries to hit the check down, ball is intercepted. While all that chaos is going on in the back end with the DBs, the quarterback has to try not to pay attention to the chaos going on up front. Running a stunt, Leonard Williams going for the pick, ricocheting off and walking away with the sack.
Try not to pay attention.
Try not to.
3rd time they've played. What's your play? What do you like in this one?
Anything inside of 3, which is what it is right now, I'm on the Seahawks -2.5. 2 key reasons. Number 1, Rams defense. Since week 13, it's kind of fallen off a cliff. 22nd or worse in scoring, efficiency, and EPA. Beat the Bears last week, gave up 417 total yards in the process. Sometimes, don't just look at the final score. Look at that box score. It can be telling. Reason number 2, I don't think people realize this. They keep talking about the Rams playing 3 straight road games. This is their 7th road game in 9 weeks.
Wow.
7th road game in 9 weeks. Seattle also gets the extra day of rest, having come off the bye. You wonder how much gas is left in the tank.
Seahawks 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 against winning teams. That's all 3. The NFC Championship will be the 3rd meeting this season between the Rams and Seahawks. The first 2, of course, very close. Classic offense v. defense matchup. The Rams led the NFL in scoring and total offense. The first time they've led both in a season since the greatest show on turf days way back in 2001. They'll take on a Seattle defense that allowed an NFL fewest 17.2 points per game. However, the last time these teams played, December 18th, the Rams put up 37 on that Seahawks D. Not easy to do. We have reporters with both teams. Lindsey Theory covering the Rams, Brady Henderson with the Seahawks. Lindsey, we start with you. How are the Rams planning to attack Seattle's defense on Sunday?
David, Matthew Stafford says they need to play fast, physical, and aggressive. He says they need to go out and execute against a great defense in their home environment. Matthew Stafford had no shortage of ways to describe this Seahawks defense, saying they're great when it comes to personnel, their depth, their star power. He says they have difference makers who make the plays, including their former teammate Ernest Jones, who last week had a forced fumble and an interception in a win to send them into this game. Matthew Stafford says their front is great, their secondary is great, and so are their linebackers. But here's a big key for the Rams. They will have Devontae Adams returning to play for them, and Puka Nacua says that's a big get for them this time around.
I think it'll be a confidence boost for our entire team. Obviously, we've had him here these past 2 weeks, but the ability to feel like we have all of our bullets. We're confident whatever 11 step on the field, blue and yellow, that we can go out there and get the job done. But obviously to have number 17 is going to be a huge advantage for us. And then also just to have him out there, to see him in the huddle, it's a confidence boost for everybody around him.
As for the Rams defense, I asked Jared Verse how they forced Sam Darnold into 6 turnovers in their 2 meetings this season. He tells me it is just their approach, but Verse is being quite guarded when talking with reporters this week because the last thing he wants to do, David, is provide any bulletin board material to put in that Seahawks locker room.
All right, young player, savvy though move there, veteran move by that man. Lindsay giving us the very latest there. Brian?
D. Lloyd, you know, this is the 3rd instance since the 1970 merger that the #1 scoring offense has played the #1 scoring defense in the conference championship. Here's the good news for Seattle, as the #1 defense took both of the previous 2 meetings, and that includes 11 years ago when the Legion of Boom took down Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Okay, let's bring in Brady Henderson from Renton, Washington. And Brady, what is that Seahawks defense saying about this 3rd meeting and trying to put the clamp on Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, and, of course, this Rams offense that is so explosive?
Yeah, well, one of the big talking points this week has been getting more pressure on Matthew Stafford. One of the reasons the Seahawks have the NFL's best scoring defense this season is because they've been so effective at getting after quarterbacks, but no sacks in 2 games against Stafford. Now, they did start to heat him up in the second half of that Week 16 game. That was really when that comeback started to make a turn, but 2 games, 0 sacks against the 37-year-old Stafford. Leonard Williams made the point that they need to be better on early downs so that they can force Stafford into more pure passing situations on 3rd down, make it so that he can't simply get rid of the ball before the rush can arrive. Mike McDonald noted that they have affected Stafford at times, but they have not gotten.
Overall, this was a really packed segment with coaching decisions, quarterback pressure, and 2 massive championship games. It really shows how much of the NFL comes down to trust. Trust in coaches, trust in quarterbacks, and trust in preparation when the stakes are highest. If you enjoyed this reaction and want more NFL content like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.